Next, here in France, police have arrested 4 people accused of spying for Russia. One of the detainees, a dual French-Russian national, ran a non-profit called the SOS Donbass group. It purports to be helping people in eastern Ukraine, but is suspected by intelligence services of acting as a relay for Russian influence operations. It comes amid warnings from French authorities that Russian intelligence services are expanding covert operations on European soil, ranging from cyber attacks to online propaganda. Well, let's bring in Ryhor Nizhnikau, who is a senior research fellow at the Finnish Institute of International Affairs. Ryhor, thank you so much for joining us on the program. So I want to first of all ask you about this group, SOS Donbass Association. I said there that it purports to be helping people in eastern Ukraine, but it's come out to actually be suspected of spying on French authorities. Tell us if you think there are many associations like that existing in Europe at the moment.
Oh, absolutely. We do have to understand that this fits well the way how the Russian secret services operate. They usually need a cover. They need a kind of a good shield for their operations. And of course, organizations that do especially humanitarian tasks are usually well used since Soviet times.
One of the suspects, identified as Anna N, allegedly approached executives at various French companies to obtain information about French economic interests. What do you think she used that information for, in your mind?
I think, this is a question what information she received, but since, again, even before the full-scale invasion, all type of secrets, including actually not just military secrets, but any type of technological secrets of what French companies working on, planning to do, and so on and so forth, being extremely valuable data for Russians. Now, when Russia is cut off from Western technology, this is even more valuable. So this is what she obviously is, and the Russian basically handlers want people to do, and her as well.
And French President Emmanuel Macron already warned earlier this week of a state of hybrid confrontation in Russia at the moment. And of course, these arrests are the latest sign of that, isn't it?
Absolutely. We do have to say that what Russians think is that they are de facto at war with Europe, even if they also want to avoid military escalations and confrontations. But there are all other kinds of means from this espionage, industrial espionage, to underwater sea cables being cut. So this is just going to be only getting worse.
How would you say countries can go about protecting themselves from foreign influence, from Russia, from foreign interference?
Look, what Russians are doing is, on one hand, they are going after their textbooks, which were written, obviously, again, in Soviet times. But the other one is they are going after our vulnerabilities, societal, state, and so on. So obviously, trying to look at this, trying to actually building up resilience of our societies and avoiding unnecessary inner confrontations would be a good deal of preventing Russia's being efficient. But first and for all, we have to understand what Russians are doing, and in this regard, what they are particularly interested right now is exactly how Europe is helping Ukraine, and also how they want to undermine this assistance by all kind of a means. So this is to us task number one: understand what they need and what they can do.
Rodrigo, I do want to ask you about a separate story that's making headlines today. Reports of Trump's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, allegedly advising Russians on their negotiating strategy. Where do we go from here when we have top dogs, let's say, in global diplomacy, effectively in cahoots with the Russians and coaching the Russians?
Look, this is the problem, obviously. We can't say that he is working for Russians and so on, but we can definitely say that Russians are extremely efficient at corrupting Western officials, Western businessmen, And Witkoff falls in this category nicely. When you really want to have deals with Russians, when you're really eager to engage in all kinds of schemes, that's where Russians come handy. So what Witkoff is being promised from the future US-Russia cooperation, to me, is the main question. And to me, this is the main motivator for people like Witkoff, even if I'm not saying that he is exactly part of that. But this category of people can be very much co-opted and bought by Russians exactly by the promise of huge, lavish deals now or in the future.
We've also had a second leaked call suggesting that Russia itself drafted major parts of that contentious 28-point peace plan that came out last week, that was leaked last week. It's not really a surprise, is it, to us that Russia, had a very big role in making that peace plan?
It looks like what exactly Russia wants. And we have to say that when Donald Trump really wants to end the war at any terms, and specifically at the cost of the weaker party, which is obviously Ukraine, we should not be surprised that such plans appear. And they don't appear, in essence, even if this is very concrete, but the same type of a deal has been talked about during Alaska, also in May, during the Oval Office spat. So, and I expect when this deal basically is doomed, that in the few months we'll see another attempt of a similar type of a deal.
Thank you so much for joining us on the program, Ryhor. Great to have you, and thank you so much for giving us your thoughts on this. Thank you.